Welcome to Evoluna, where I will be your guide through the intersection of crypto, mindset, and human evolution. Today we peel back the layers of one of humanity's most sophisticated illusions, fiat money. A system that looks solid on the surface, yet beneath it hides the greatest global debt ever recorded. If this message helps you see clearer, I invite you to subscribe and like the channel as a small gesture of value for value. So let's begin by asking the question, if you dare to ask, what is the money we use every day really worth? Not long ago, money was anchored in something real. Before 1971, every US dollar could be exchanged for gold under the Bretton Woods agreement. It was a promise that paper represented value stored in metal. But in August 1971, President Nixon ended that convertibility, the so-called Nixon Shock. From that day on, money was no longer backed by gold. It was backed by confidence. That was the birth of pure fiat currency. The word fiat comes from Latin, let it be done. With a government decree, value was no longer mined or earned, it was declared. And that decree unleashed a new age of debt. Here's how the illusion works. When governments spend more than they can collect, they borrow. When debt piles up, central banks print. And when they print, they devalue everything you already earned. Since the 1970s, the global money supply has expanded exponentially. Each new note or digital unit doesn't create more wealth. It simply divides existing value into thinner slices. Think of it like adding water to wine. The glass still looks full, but the flavor somehow fades. Every euro, every dollar, every yen is born as someone else's debt. And to pay that debt, more money must be created. An endless loop that guarantees inflation and ensures the game never ends. Today, the world owes over 320 trillion, 3 times the global GDP. That's not growth, that's addiction. During the COVID-19 pandemic, this illusion reached its climax. To save economies, central banks printed over 20 trillion globally in less than 2 years. The largest monetary expansion in the history. In the US alone, 40% of all existing dollars were created after 2020. Europe followed with massive quantitative easing and state guarantees. It felt like relief, but it was delusion. Those trillions didn't create real productivity. They inflated assets prices, widened inequality, and silently taxed the poor through higher living costs. Inflation is not an accident, it's a policy. It's how debt is disguised as growth. So, if the printing continues, and it will, believe me, currencies will keep losing trust, and nations will keep chasing inflation with higher interest rates. Debt to GDP ratios are already unsustainable. To maintain the illusion, governments will eventually resort to a digital control central bank. Digital currencies, CBDCs, how they call them, to manage and monitor money directly. We're moving toward a system where money isn't printed, it's programmed. This transition will look efficient, but it risks reducing freedom, because programmable money can also mean programmable behavior. And history tells us what happens when faith in fiat breaks. The Weimar Republic in 1920s. Germany saw prices double every few days. Zimbabwe printed trillions-dollar notes that couldn't buy even a bread. Argentina, Venezuela, Turkey. The pattern repeats. So, no empire has ever survived endless debasement of its currency. So, what can you do? First, awaken your awareness. Understand that fiat money is not wealth. It's a tool of exchange. Wealth is what holds value when systems fail. Skills, knowledge, community, asset with scarcity and utility. Second, educate yourself about decentralized system. Crypto isn't the enemy of government. It's a mirror reflecting what sound money looks like. Bitcoin's fixed supply and transparent ledger stand in direct contrast to the secrecy of fiat creation. Third, build emotional resilience. Fear serves no one. Understanding replaces fear with strategy. Prepare, not from panic, but from clarity. Diversify, simplify, and align your value with things that cannot be printed at will. The illusion of fiat currency survives through collective amnesia. As long as people forget that money was once tied to real value. But every illusion has an expiry date. When belief collapses, systems transform, sometimes painfully, but always inevitably. If this message helped you see the pattern more clearly, I invite you again to subscribe and like this channel. Your support helps Evoluna continue spreading awareness through crypto, mindset, and self-growth. And remember, freedom always starts from the mind.